Hey guys, it's Susie for Bello's Designs. Now, the holidays are over, and if you're like me, you're probably busy cleaning up your craft room because mine literally looks like a bomb went off on it. I do so much paper crafting during the holidays, and by doing that, I also end up with tons of scraps. Oh my goodness. So, today we are going to be going over what you can do with those fabulous scraps of paper you have. Now, I'm going to focus on the double-sided paper. If you watched my other tutorials, the last couple I did the three-dimensional boxes with the double-sided paper. I also did the drink pouches. So these are the scraps that are left over that are too small to do either one of those projects. Now, I used this year the Craft Consortium Festive Flora pattern papers. And you can see I still have a couple of scraps. These are still big enough to do a pouch with. These are the ones that fit nothing. Perhaps you have the Lavinia. This is gorgeous paper. You don't want to throw it away. There's too many fabulous things you can do. Now, the thing with double-sided paper, it wants to be seen on both sides. So today's projects, we're going to be showing you how you can use up these scraps and be able to see them on both sides. So let's get started. Now for this project, I'm going to be using my scraps of Lavinia paper. I don't have a lot left because I've already done a few things with it recently and I gave them away before I decided to do this video. So we're going to take the ones that I have left and we're going to get busy with them. Now for this one, I'm actually taking a sticky note pad. This is your regular 3M sticky notes. You can find these everywhere. Now, this particular pad is a 3" by 3". My square is not big enough for that. Mine was just a little bit bigger than this on my scrap, so I've cut it down to a 3 by 3½. I didn't have enough to go all the way around the pad, and these are just a little too small. So I cut this down, and now I've also taken a scrap of white cardstock, and I cut this down to a 3 by 3. Now, for your scrap, you are going to score it at the 3" and the 3/4" mark. So let me grab my scoreboard here, and as you can see, I've already done mine. I wanted to make sure that I was going to have enough to be able to do this. So you're going to score at the 3 and again at the 3 1/4. All right. This is going to be the front of our pad. Now, I've already gone ahead and I've stamped mine up. You can decorate these any way you want to. But now I'm going to take, and this will become the cover for our sticky notes. How cute is that? This is going to be the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some double-sided tape and find the end of it, which is sometimes harder than not. Now you can use any of your double-sided tapes. Glue probably isn't recommended. You want a good strong tape for this. All right, we're going to take that tape and we're going to run it down right along the edge. Now this is 1/4" wide tape that I'm using. We're just going to take that down, grab our scissors, and cut that off. Now, you're also going to lay a line down, and I know this is hard for you to see, but this is where we scored it at the 3 and the 3 1/4. We're going to take a piece of tape and lay that right in between those lines. So again, it's coming down right in between our score lines. And put that off. There we go. Now, we're going to take this piece, and I'm actually going to fold this backwards. I know it seems a little strange, but it does work. Now, because I've already folded it once, it's a little harder to get it to go the opposite direction. There we go. And the reason I'm going to do that is we're going to butt these two up together, and I'm going to press it down. So just backing off your tape, which is usually the hardest part. I'm going to pull that off. We're going to butt these two pieces together so they're nice and straight, and just press that down now. And there we go. So this is what your piece is going to look like now. Now we're going to pull this piece off. And you're going to lay your pad in. Make sure it's going the right way. Lay your pad right on top of that 3" by 3" piece of base. And you're going to pull this up and over. And just stick it down, and there you go. And now you have your cover for your sticky notes. And it looks just as pretty on the inside. Now, you can take and stamp this up too, put a message in it, whatever it is you want to do. The point is now it looks good on the outside and the inside. And these are just great little gifts you can give. Throw them in a little goodie box. You can use these for grandkids, put little sticky notes. They love that stuff. So there's your big one. Now, perhaps you don't have a piece of paper that big. I ended up with this tiny little scrap of my Craft Consortium paper. What do you do with it? We're going to make little tiny sticky notes. Now you can see I use the Lavinia paper on this also. So for this one, we are going to take just a 2" by 2" square, and I'm using the red because this one isn't big enough to go all the way around, but it is the exact size of the front of the mini sticky notepads. Now these are Post-it notes that I'm using, and these are 1 3/8 by 1 7/8, and you get 4 of these in a package. You can find these anywhere also. So using our piece of paper, we are now going to score our red 2" by 2", and you can use any colors you care for. I'm using the red just to go with my berries here. So we are going to score that at the 1 1/2 and the 1 3/4. Now, this is going to be exactly the same as we did this pad, just in the opposite direction. So instead of having just the square piece on the back, that now is your pattern paper, and this becomes the wrapper. Okay? So grabbing our piece, and I'm just going to fold it. We're going to get some tape. And I forgot to grab my narrow tape, so let me grab that quick. I'm using the score tape this time in 1/8" wide. My 1/4" is too big for this one. So I'm just going to score that down, or sorry, tape that down with my score tape. Now, you could use the 1/4" tape on this also. I just found that these pads are so small that sometimes it's just a little too much. You get a little too much sticky going on. Oops, and I just screwed that up. Do not put that one down on that side. I've got my tape on the wrong side. See, even I can screw up. Everybody screws up. All right. So we're going to put the tape down in that center part where we had it. This time, we're going to take this tape and put it on the opposite side. Silly me. And again, finding the end of my tape. There it is. So we're just going to stick that down just like that. Clip it off. I'm going to pull this edge back up. And this piece happens to be a 1.5 by 2 inch, is exactly the size of your little book. Now, if you have a scrap that's big enough, such as this one, this is just a scrap of paper I had that was printed. This is a 3 1/4 by 2 inch. Score it at the 1.5 and the 1 3/4. No matter if you're using just the small piece of paper or you have a scrap a little bigger, you're still going to score them at those exact same marks. All right. So now, again, we're going to butt our piece of paper up to this. Peel off that backing and pop that down. Now, we're going to pop that tape off and grabbing our book of sticky notes, we're going to bring that right over the top again, and there you go. And there's a little book. Now, using that little scrap of paper right on the other side, you can trim it off if you went a little too far with it or didn't get it lined up perfectly. But now you're using up those scraps of double-sided paper. Now, you will have the colored piece here. That's okay. You can always take some ribbon and put a little ribbon around it. You can hide it any way you want to, but just by taking your little piece of ribbon, tying a bow over the top, now it's decorated a little bit more, and you're also covering that strip. Okay, so let's move to the next. So for this project, I am going back to our Lavinia scraps. Now, these papers are absolutely stunning. I can't tell you how many times I've read in the comments, I bought the paper, I don't know what to do with it. These papers are absolutely beautiful. If you don't have some, trust me, you will not be disappointed. Now, you can use your scraps or your paper to make a standard card. It's then deciding what side you like the best of your paper. Now, the fun thing is you end up with scraps. This is the scrap that I had after I cut 2 card fronts off. This is the size scrap I had left over. What do you do with it? Well, you can use them for die cuts, or you can use them for bookmarks. How fun are these? Now, this one I have not laminated yet because I wanted to show you. This is actually the scrap that came from this card front. Now, being that it's a bookmark, it's double-sided, so you can decorate both sides. How fun is that? Kids will love these. Actually, I have an older person that absolutely loves mermaids and reading. This is going with her book for her gift for her birthday. Now, what to do with the rest of these scraps? Think 3-dimensional. If you have die cuts, they're fabulous. You can take little butterflies, bend their wings up. Now their wings are decorated on both sides. Or perhaps you have smaller pieces. How about an ornament? Ornaments don't have to be just for Christmas. You can do them for anything and hang them anywhere. But using that double-sided paper, now your ornament looks good on both sides. Perhaps if you have the ink drops paper by Craft Consortium, consider making paper flowers. Now they're going to look just as good on both sides. Now, envelopes are always great because you're going to see it on both sides. Pouches are great. Now, this one, I did not use double-sided paper, but you get the idea because now when you open that flap, it'll have this double-sided paper on it. You're going to see the pretty on both sides. and on the inside of your pouch. So lots of things to do, even if you have a piece that's really small. You can do a lot with it. You can make cards with small artwork pieces. Build them up. Just frame them in. Now this piece actually happens to be about the size of that green piece. I can make a scene on this, and now I have yet another card, all from using these scraps of paper. Now you have little strips you can cut out, or you can take these and just by grabbing your greeting from your card, you now have a frame for that greeting you can pop on a card. How fun is that? And all from pieces you probably would have thrown away in the first place. Now, another fun thing to do is window cards. Now, if you don't know what a window card is, it's basically a card that you can see through into the inside. And you can do your artwork on the inside, or you can decorate your window. Now, this one I did really quick just to explain what it was. Using that double-sided paper from the Lavinia, I cut that butterfly out of this strip, and now my butterfly looks just as pretty on the inside as it does from the outside. And now we're going to take all those little strips of paper that we had that you don't know what to do with, all this fun stuff and weird shapes that you go, okay, what do I do? And normally you throw them away. We're going to be doing a window card with a twist. So get those strips and follow me. And let's move on to the next. So now we're going to go through our window card with a twist. All right, so grab those little strips of double-sided paper that you have left over, and we're going to make a card with them. Mine happens to be from the Festive Flora yet again, because this is the pad I used this year. I've gone through about half of it. So we will be using our strips. We're going to be using Sweet Poppy Stencil low tack tape. Now, you want a really low tack tape because we're going to stick this through a die cutting machine. So anything that's got a lot of sticky to it, chances are you're going to damage your card. So make sure you have low tack. We're also going to be using some score tape for mounting our card. You can use 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, whatever works for you. I'm going to be using dies today. Now, if you don't have a die cutting machine, that's okay, because I'm going to give you an alternative on a way to use those strips. In this case, since I am using Christmas papers or Christmas prints, I've decided to go with an ornament. Now, these happen to be Spellbinder, I do believe. I've had them for a long time. Bello's Design sells a fabulous set of ornament dies by Sweet Poppy Stencil, and I'll link those down below. You're going to need adhesive sheets. These happen to be Sizzix. There's a lot of different brands. It doesn't matter as long as they're the double-sided adhesive sheets. You're going to need acetate. I'm using Hero Arts today. Whatever kind of acetate sheet you have is perfect. I'm also going to be using up some of my other scraps of just solid cardstock that coordinates with my paper. And you're going to need an 8.5 by 11 sheet of plain cardstock. Now, it doesn't matter what colors you choose. This is going to be the base of our card and the front of our card. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so now I've already taken our 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I've cut it in half lengthways. All right. You're going to then take that and score it at the 5.5 inch. And that is going to be the base of our card. Now I've also cut out the other half into a 4.25 by 5.5. You're now going to take your card base, and in this case, we're going to fold it this way. And that way we don't have to worry about how much weight we put on it. It's still going to stand up. All right. You're going to take your card front now, and you're going to place that onto your card. And you're going to line that up perfectly. Now, taking your Sweet Puppy stencil tape, you're going to want to tape that down. You don't want this to move when you put it through your die cutting machine. All right. So I just taped it on both sides, and now we're going to take our die. And in this case, I'm going this way with it. Like I said, you can use any die. Since I'm using Christmas papers, I am going to stick with a Christmas theme. But with Valentine's Day coming up, perhaps you have heart dies, whatever it is you like, you can use. Now again, I'm going to tape that die down because I don't want it to move. All right, so now I'm going to go over, run this through my die cutting machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've run this through my die cutting machine, and as you can see, you cut through both layers at the same time. So we're going to set that aside for right now. You end up with 2 of these. Keep these. You can decorate them, do whatever you want with them. Lots of fun. You already got a head start because you've already got 2 die cuts. So now we're going to be taking our adhesive sheet and our acetate sheet. Now I've already cut mine down. You want to make sure that your adhesive sheet, when you cut it down, will fit your die. So just lay your die on top. Don't peel those pieces off yet, the backings off. Lay your die down. Make sure you have a little extra space on it. Now it's easier to see with a die cut. So I've left about 1/8 of an inch or so around it. Okay, now we're going to take the backing off of our adhesive sheet, and these are always fun. So I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me struggle. Okay, I'm just going to pull back part of it. I'm going to lay it onto my acetate sheet very carefully here. And we're slowly going to pull this off because you want to stick it down as you go. And that way you're not getting any wrinkles. All right. And now you just want to really work that in good. You can flip it over, look for any kind of air bubbles, whatever. If you see any, don't do it on the acetate side. Flip it back over and just keep burnishing it down. And you can do this with a burnishing tool. You can do it with your bone folder, whatever it is you have. And stick it down really good. And you want to make sure that it looks fairly clear when you're done, because that's going to be the inside of our card now. All right. Now we're going to take and trim our acetate down. So I'm just going to grab my little guillotine here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it fits within your die and within your card front. I do have a dull spot in my guillotine, which makes me sad. And it's right there. All right, good enough. Now we'll set those aside. Now, making sure that when you do this, it's going to fit within your card. All right, in this case, I have plenty of room. So now we're going to take this piece and we're going to peel that other backing off of that adhesive sheet. And this is probably the hardest part of the whole card, is getting these backings off. All right, there we go. Now, grabbing your strips. We're just going to dump them all out here. You're going to want to come up with a pattern. You might want to lay them kind of out first. Now, the reason why I took and used my solid strips is because my pattern paper is, the print is so tiny on it that when you start sticking them all together, they kind of make your eyes go funny. So to highlight each paper a little bit and to keep your eyes from going funny, we're just going to take those strips and we're going to put in some solid color. Now by doing this, it's going to break it up and it'll keep you from going cross-eyed when you look at it. Okay, so basically we're going to be making a strip card now. But by doing it on the acetate, we're going to be able to see it on both sides. How fun is that? So you're getting the most out of your double-sided paper. So again, lay out some sort of pattern that you feel comfortable with, and now we're going to start sticking them down. And you can do this any way you want to. I'm going to start out with a wider strip. This is going to be my centerpiece. I'm going to do mine on an angle. All right. Now you're just going to keep doing this until you've covered the whole thing. So I'm going to let you listen to some music, and I'll speed this up so you don't get bored, and I'll get busy while you watch. Now, I'd also like to say that when you're doing this, you're going to butt these strips right up next to each other. Trim them off. Don't throw these little pieces away yet because you can still use these. And if you go in close to your edge with the one end, you end up with bigger strips instead of your little tiny strips. Now, that one's not big enough. I should not have done that. It's okay. I think we can fix it. Learn by my mistakes. Make sure it fits first. Don't you love crafting with people? Don't look first to make sure it fits. All right. So learn by my mistakes. That's what I always tell my kids. Learn from my mistakes. And that way you don't have to make so many yourself. Okay. And here we go. We have this little tiny piece here. That's where these come in. And that one fits perfectly. Okay, now we're going to cut these off. Just following the edge of your acetate, you know right where that line is. Now I am going through this pretty quick, just so you don't get so bored, but just butt them up nice. That one's a little too small, so I'm going to have to cut some more strips. So when I come back, this will be finished. Okay, so I have finished putting all my strips on now, and I've trimmed it off. Now, something else, when you are doing this, take your strips, excuse me, take your strips, and you're going to want to keep one side closest to that edge. That way you're getting the most out of your strip. And I forgot to tell you that at the beginning. Okay, so now we're going to assemble our card. Now, here's another tip. When you die cut, you're cutting both of these pieces out at the exact same time. I would suggest marking them so that you know in case one of them gets flipped over. Otherwise, your window isn't always going to line up, okay? So you might want to just mark the insides just with a little pencil mark or something so that you know which side's which. All right, now we're going to assemble our card. Now, because I'm using an ornament and I also have a bunch of metallic strips, I've decided to go ahead and I took a pair of those silly scissors that you were scrapbooking way back when. You've seen lots of these. I still have some. So I just cut a little decorative edge on my gold strip. Now I'm going to fill in the top of my ornament with it, just so it'll look like it has a little top to it. So now when I put it together, oops, it'll have that at the top of it, okay? So for this, because I'm using metallic paper, and I know that a lot of glues do not stick to metallic paper, I'm going to just grab a piece of score tape here. Just do a little bit on each side. So just another way you can decorate up and use up some more scraps. You're getting the most out of your paper. And it just gives it an extra little touch. I'll just peel those backings off. Grab my strip. I'm going to pop that down, making sure I got the hole covered, and I do. So now we have an ornament with a top on it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Again, taking my strip, I'm just going to clip this off now. These little strips, there's so many things you can do with them, and so many people just throw them away, that literally when you are done making all of your stuff, if you keep those strips, you'd be amazed at how much paper you have left over. So I find it fun just to go through and find other ways to use all those scraps up, because I go through loads of paper. Now this one's going this way. Nope, it's going this way. Yeah, we're just going to pop that on there. And that looks pretty good too. All right, now we're going to put our card together. So we're going to take our piece that we put the strips on, and we're going to tape it down in here. Again, you're going to want a good tape because we have acetate on one side. And a lot of glues do not like to stick to acetate. So I highly recommend double-sided tape. Now, the other thing you're going to want to do after you get your strips down is take a piece of scrap paper. And this is just a piece of printer paper that I'm going to use. Take that with your acetate side up. Take and burnish this down. And burnish it really, really good. Now, if you see where you have milky spots, that's just little air bubbles from your adhesive. By burnishing that down, you can eliminate a whole load of that and make it look really nice. Now, it might take you a little time to do it, but it's worth it in the end. All right, so now we are going to take this and we're going to lay this down onto our design here. I want to stay away from the very top, but I'm going to go kind of around this edge because I want to make sure that it's not going to make a gap in the card where you're going to see through that part. Okay, so we're just going to go around. Now I'm using 1/8 inch wide score tape for this just because I can maneuver it a little easier. Like I said, you could use glue, but make sure that your glue will adhere to acetate. Oops. And I'm getting this tape all over my fingers. All right. Now just peel that backing off. And I still have a piece of tape stuck to my finger. That's perfect for this part because that's not a window anyway. Okay. Now, I've got to make sure I'm going in the right direction. Not that it matters. This one's pretty square. I'm just going to pop that down and flip it over. This is now the inside of your card. But by doing the window card, now that shows up on the inside also. It's just a nice added bonus. All right, so we're just going to press that down good. And now we're going to do the tape on this side. And this is the front of our card. So doing the same thing. Laying that tape down. And I'm actually going to grab my scissors here. It's faster. Going up by that edge. Score tape you can tear, but cutting it's even easier. And then it doesn't get stuck all over your fingers too. Not as bad. All right, we're going to just repeat the same thing we just did. Oh, and on this one, now, since this is our card front, we also have to be aware of gluing these edges down. So instead of pulling the rest of that off right now, I'm actually going to take my score tape and I'm going to outline the edge. So do all your tape first. Before you start pulling off the backings, it's so much easier. Now just line your card up again, right on those edges. And all right. I'm just kind of burnishing that with my finger around that edge. All right, now we're going to pop these tapes off and your card front will be secure. And I don't think I got all of that one off. And there we go. And there is your card. Now, you can add extra things to it. You can add sentiments on it, stand them up, whatever you want to do. That's up to you. But by doing that window in there, now when they open it, you also have that beautiful ornament on the inside. Now, like I said, if you don't have a die cutting machine, or you don't have the acetate sheets, adhesive sheets, whatever it is, you can also do a strip card. Now, a strip card is basically what we did here, except you only see it from one side. Now, because I have all of these strips left over, and a lot of them aren't double-sided paper, I will be making a lot of these. These you do exactly the same way that we just did this card, by laying your strips down. Now, you're going to cut a piece of cardstock instead of your acetate. You can use glue on these. You can use tape, whatever you like to use. But it's a great way to use up all those strips. Now, like I said, I make a lot of cards at Christmas time. This is just half of the strips I have left over from cutting all those cards out. Now, I could throw these all away, but when you add them all up just for Christmas, I've probably got what's equivalent to a 6x6 pad of paper here. So why not use it up? So, when Mr. Mojo decides that it's going to take off on a holiday and it waves goodbye as it walks out the door, perhaps pull those strips out and make up some cards. It's a great way to use your papers and get the most out of your papers. Okay, so now I have taken you all the way from using your bigger pieces of paper, double-sided paper, all the way down to using up those little scraps. So make the most of your paper pads. You can find all of the Craft Consortium paper pads, which are all double-sided, at Bello's Designs. They also carry the Lavinia pad, which is double-sided. So check those out. There are so many gorgeous papers. I really do hope you check them out. Now, I am sure that quite a few of you probably laughed when I showed you my pile of paper. These are just strips. This is not including all the other cutoffs that I did. These are literally, except for this one, just strips. Am I going to use these? You bet I am. Why? Well, I'd like to leave you with a thought. Now, for Christmas cards, there are so many adult facilities all over the world. We have nursing homes, you have assisted living, you have independent living. There's also veterans homes. Consider donating cards to them. Now, I know personally that there are a lot of people in those facilities that are absolutely forgotten. Either they don't have family or they don't contact them, they're too far away, whatever it is. But when the holidays come along, they feel it the hardest. So just by donating that card, now you're giving somebody a little smile, a little something to think about. And if you do it anonymously, they're going to wonder who thought enough of them to give them a card. So, just something to consider. Now, if you're into the Lavinia stamps, I love my fairies and my mythical creatures. I really do. And so many times I have heard, what do you do with all these things after you make them? And you end up with something that looks kind of like this. Now, these are all just card fronts that I've done. All kinds of different ones. Consider donating these to a children's hospital. Those kids are literally fighting for their lives. Now, if by just donating that card, that one person gets that card, now they have something to focus on. And maybe it'll take the pain away for just a few minutes or what they're dealing with. So, we might not be able to change the world by making cards, but we might be able to change somebody's world with one card. I hope you give that a thought. I'd also like to invite you to our 2 Facebook groups. We have Bello's Designs Lounge, where you can post all of your Lavinia makes. We also have Bello's Designs a la carte. There you can post all of your Sweet Poppy stencil, your cardio, Nellie's Choice. Love to have you come and visit with us. So, I hope you like this video. I hope you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. All of the stuff that I used today is listed down below. I will have links to everything. Check out Bello's designs for that Craft Consortium paper and your Lavinia paper. Craft Consortium makes loads of gorgeous papers, and they're all double-sided. So if you want to have a little fun, maybe you're tired of making just those regular cards and you want to try something new, think three-dimensional. Or think about different ways you can change things up. Kind of like what we did with the Christmas card, where we have that on the inside also. Any of these papers can be changed out. Different things can be used. Take your Lavinia papers or any of the other Craft Consortium and try them out. And again, if you're thinking of donating cards, you can make these strip cards out of the stuff you normally would have thrown away. It's going to cost you nothing. When Mr. Mojo gets up, walks away, grab those strips, you can make cards. You don't have to think about it. There are no rules. You can make these any size, any way. You can lay your strips any way you want to. But consider it. And just maybe we can change the life of someone just by putting that smile on their face. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And remember, until next time, stay crafty.